I never thought I'd end up in a federal courtroom, staring down the barrel of a life sentence for embezzlement I didn't commit, all because I trusted my own flesh and blood. But there I was, handcuffs biting into my wrists, the judge's gavel echoing like a death knell, while my son, my golden boy, Tommy, sat in the back row, avoiding my eyes like I was the criminal he'd always known me to be. And the real thief? She was right there beside him, her manicured hand on his knee, whispering lies that sealed my fate, his perfect wife, Sarah, the daughter-in-law who'd laughed in my face just months earlier over my pathetic math skills while tallying up the family budget. It started with a single coupon, yellowed and forgotten in the lining of an old purse I'd hauled out from the attic, the kind of purse you stash away after a funeral because it smells like regret. I'd been cleaning house after Tommy announced the divorce. Ironic, since Sarah had convinced him I was the toxic one holding them back. And that's when I found it. Not just any coupon, but one clipped from a 2012 supermarket flyer, stamped with a code that didn't match the expiration date. My hands shook as I punched the numbers into an old calculator, the kind Sarah had mocked me for using because even a kid with a smartphone could do better. But math had always been my quiet rebellion, the one skill that kept me sane through decades of Tommy's father's rages and the bills that piled up like unanswered prayers. By the time I'd cross-referenced it with bank statements I'd begged the lawyer for, statements Sarah swore were lost in the cloud, I'd unraveled a web that stretched back 15 years. A trail of falsified receipts and phantom rebates that funneled thousands from our family trust into offshore accounts. And the signature on every one, mine, forged in Sarah's elegant script, the same hand that had penned love notes to my son while she bled us dry. Betrayal doesn't hit like a slap. It seeps in slow, like damp rot in the walls of the home you built with your own calloused hands. The rain hammered the roof of our split level in Elmwood, Ohio, that crisp October evening. The kind of Midwest downpour that turns the world gray and forces you indoors with people you'd rather avoid. Tommy and Sarah had driven up from Cincinnati for what they called a casual check-in, but I knew better. Sarah's eyes had that glint, the one that said she was here to catalog my decline, to whisper to Tommy later about how Mom's slipping. We might need to talk assisted living. At 68, with arthritis gnawing at my knuckles like an old debt collector, I wasn't the picture of vitality, but I was sharp enough to spot a con from a mile away. I'd raised Tommy alone after his dad drank himself into an early grave, scraping by on diner shifts and community college night classes in accounting, irony of ironies, the very field that would bite me in the ass. We gathered in the kitchen, the heart of the house where the Formica counters still bore faint scars from Tommy's childhood knife fights with apples. Sarah, all yoga-tone limbs and highlights that cost more than my monthly grocery bill, spread out the ledger on the table like she was unveiling the Dead Sea Scrolls. Melanie, honey, let's go over the trust disbursements, she said, her voice honeyed with that southern lilt she'd faked since moving north, born in Atlanta but polished in charm school. Or so Tommy bragged. Tommy's been so stressed with the firm, and we just want to make sure everything's balanced. I nodded, sipping my weak Lipton tea, the steam curling up like smoke signals from a battlefield. The family trust was my one legacy, a modest pot for my late husband's life insurance, earmarked for Tommy's education and, eventually, his kids. No grandkids yet. Sarah's career-first mantra had delayed that, but the money had kept us afloat through lean years. I watched as she flipped pages, her red nails tapping like Morse code. See here? The HVAC repair last winter, $4, $200. And the roof patch? Another $2,800. But your receipts only show half. My stomach twisted. Not from the math, but from the way she said your receipts, like I'd been the one fumbling the books. I keep everything in the shoebox, I muttered, gesturing to the cabinet under the sink where faded envelopes bulged with carbon copies and grocery chits. Sarah had insisted on digitalizing years ago, but I'd resisted. Computers were for kids who thought privacy was a myth. She leaned back, crossing her arms over her fitted cashmere sweater, the one that screamed, "I shop at Nordstrom," not the Walmart clearance rack. "Melanie, this isn't the dark ages. If you'd just let me handle the uploads, we wouldn't have these discrepancies." Then came the laugh, light and tinkling like wind chimes in a tornado. "I mean, no offense, but your math skills? They're adorable. Like, remember that time at the lake house when you shorted the tip by $10? Tommy had to fix it." Tommy chuckled from his perch on the stool, scrolling his phone, not even looking up. "Mom, Sarah's just trying to help. You've always been better with people than numbers." Heat flooded my cheeks, the kind that starts in your chest and burns up to your ears. Adorable? I'd balanced books for a living once, audited payroll for the county clerk before the layoffs hit, and I became just a mom. But there it was, the casual emasculation, wrapped in concern like a barb in velvet. I forced a smile, the one I'd perfected for parent-teacher conferences and funeral visitations. "Well, bless your heart, Sarah. But I reckon I can add 2 + 2 without an app telling me it's 5. The room went still, the rain the only applause. Sarah's smile froze, then cracked into something sharper. "Touché. Melanie. But seriously, if we don't sort this, the accountant will flag it come tax time. You don't want an audit, do you? At your age?" Tommy finally glanced up, his brow furrowed in that placating way he'd learned from me. "Come on, you two. Let's just eat. Mom's lasagna's getting cold." We moved to the dining room, the air thick with unspoken barbs. But as Sarah passed the garlic bread, her eyes flicked to my purse on the chair, the old leather one from my auditing days, zipped tight like a confessional. "Cute bag," she said offhand. "Vintage. Guilty as charged," I replied, zipping it tighter. Little did I know, that purse held the first thread of the noose she'd tied around my neck years before. Dinner dragged, filled with Tommy's updates on his law practice, corporate mergers, the kind of work that paid for Sarah's Pilates classes and their leased BMW, and Sarah's anecdotes about her marketing gig, landing clients with killer pitches. I nodded along, picking at my plate, my mind replaying her jab about the tip. It wasn't the words, it was the echo of every dismissal I'd swallowed since Tommy brought her home 5 years ago. Sarah, the rising star from Vanderbilt, with her MBA and her laugh that turned heads at barbecues. Me, the small-town widow who'd never set foot on a campus bigger than the local Viotech. Afterpies store-bought. Because my hands shook too much these days for crust, Tommy suggested a walk in the drizzle. But Sarah begged off with a headache. "You two go bond. I'll tidy up." Tommy kissed her forehead, the gesture so tender it twisted something in me, and they stepped out into the mist. Alone in the kitchen, I heard her humming as she stacked plates, then the clink of silverware in the sink. Curiosity, or maybe spite, drew me to the doorway. She was at the table, ledger open, but her phone was out, camera flashing as she snapped photos of the pages. "Insurance," she murmured when she saw me, but her cheeks flushed pink. I didn't buy it. Tommy's trust wasn't hers to document. As she slipped the phone away, a coupon fluttered from her pocket, landing face up on the floor, a faded Meyer ad for canned soup. dated 2012, with a barcode smudged like it had been handled too many times. I bent to pick it up. Old habit. Thrift ingrained from years of clipping to make ends meet. And that's when the numbers jumped out. The discount code, 4782, yex. Simple subtraction in my head. Expiration was 15, but the prefix matched a bank routing sequence I'd seen in my auditing manuals. Paranoia? Maybe. But as she snatched it back, her eyes narrowing, I felt the first crack in the facade. "Careful with those," she said, voice laced with warning. "They're just scraps. But scraps don't make your pulse race like a guilty verdict." That night, after they'd driven off with promises of next weekend, I couldn't sleep. The house creaked like it was confessing sins, and I hauled myself to the attic, flashlight beam cutting through dust motes like accusations. The old purse was there, buried under boxes of Tommy's Little League trophies, the ones I'd polished through tears after his dad bailed. I unzipped it, and out spilled a cascade, coupons, dozens of them, bundled with rubber bands gone brittle, each one annotated in faded ink. Dates, amounts, initials. ML. My initials, scrawled in a hand that wasn't mine. Heart pounding, I gathered them, descending to the kitchen table where the ledger still lay. One by one, I matched them, a 2009 Target rebate for $150, but the attached deposit slip showed $1,500 credited to an account in Tommy's name, back when he was in law school. Struggling. Another from 2014, Home Depot for plumbing supplies, but the total diverted $3,000 to a Cayman routing number. And the sign-off, always ML, authorizing the rebate adjustments. Sarah's doing? Or Tommy's? The betrayal slithered in, cold as the rain outside. I'd signed nothing like this, hadn't touched the trust since setting it up. But there they were, my name dragged through the mud of minor fraud, building to felony territory if audited. And why? To fund their life. The one where Sarah played the doting wife, while I scraped by on Social Security and the occasional garage sale. By dawn, I'd filled a notebook, timelines, cross-references, even a crude spreadsheet on graph paper, because my ancient laptop wheezed at the thought of Excel. The math wasn't adorable, it was damning. Sarah hadn't just mocked me, she'd built her empire on my forged signature, turning me into the fall guy for their greed. But proving it? That would mean tearing open the family like a gutted fish, spilling guts no one wanted to see. I called in sick to my part-time gig at the library, shelving romances felt trivial now, and drove to the bank in Columbus, the one that handled the trust. The teller, a kid with tattoos snaking up his neck, recognized me from the old days. "Mrs. Hargrove, long time. What can I do?" "Old statements," I said, voice steady as rebar. "From 2008 to now. Every deposit, every withdrawal." He hesitated. "That's a lot of paper." "And privacy policies." I slid a 20 across the counter. "The universal lubricant. For your coffee fund. And tell no one." An hour later, I was back home, stacks of printouts towering like Jenga blocks of deceit. The coupons matched, diversions totaling over $120,000. Siphoned in dribs and drabs, grocery rebates, utility overpayments, all funneled to accounts linked to Sarah's maiden name. Pre-marriage. She'd been playing the long game since their engagement, forging my approvals while Tommy turned a blind eye, too buried in briefs to notice his wife's side hustle. Rage simmered, not the hot flash kind, but a slow boil that hardened my resolve. Revenge? It wasn't a word I'd uttered since high school, when I'd keyed the car of the girl who stole my prom date. But this was biblical. Eye for an eye, signature for signature. I'd start small, anonymous tips to their accountant, maybe a whisper to Tommy's partners about irregularities. But deep down, I knew it would escalate, pulling us all into the abyss. Little did I know, the real hook was buried deeper, in a coupon from 2011 that referenced not money, but a clinic in Cleveland, code for an abortion Tommy never knew about. One Sarah had charged to the trust and pinned on my oversight. The secret she'd buried wasn't just financial, it was the child they'd lost. Or terminated. And the lie that bound them tighter than any vow. The next 2 weeks blurred into a haze of caffeine and conspiracy charts. My kitchen transformed into a war room worthy of a cable news thriller. Pins and red yarn connected photos of Sarah's LinkedIn profile, smiling in power suits at industry galas, to printouts of wire transfers to a P.O. box in Miami. I pored over it all, the numbers blurring under the strain of 68-year-old eyes. But the patterns emerged like veins under skin. Sarah hadn't just stolen, she'd orchestrated. A chameleon in Lululemon, flipping from dutiful daughter-in-law to mastermind, all while gaslighting me at family dinners. Tommy called once. Voice clipped over the line. "Mom, Sarah says you seemed off last visit. Everything okay? We worry about you. You know."
Worry. The word tasted like ash.
Fine as frog hair. Son. Just sorting old papers. You two need anything.
A pause.
Then his laugh. Forced.
Nah.
We're good. Closing a big merger next month. Might take us to Napa, celebration trip.
Napa.
On money that could have paid for my hip replacement, the one I'd postponed because priorities. I hung up, fists clenched, and dove back in. The clinic coupon was the outlier. A $2,400 medical reimbursement from 2011, coded as family wellness. A quick web search on the library computer, God bless incognito mode, revealed it. Women's Choice Clinic. Discreet services for unplanned circumstances. Tommy had been in his second year of law school, buried in mocks. When Sarah dropped out of her grad program for health reasons, she'd returned 6 months later, refreshed, and they'd eloped in Vegas, chalking it up to young love. Had he known? The thought clawed at me. My boy, raised on Sundays at St. Mary's, preaching honesty like gospel. Or had Sarah played him too, forging my sign-off to cover her shame, making me the unwitting accomplice in erasing their mistake? The betrayal layered, onion deep. She'd mocked my math not from superiority, but to deflect, to keep me small while she loomed large in shadows. I needed proof beyond paper. So I did what any self-respecting amateur sleuth in a Lifetime movie would. I drove to Cincinnati, tailing their Audi through rush hour snarl like a ghost from suburbia past. Their condo in Hyde Park gleamed, all glass and granite, a far cry from my Elmwood rancher. I parked a block away, thermos of coffee my only companion, and waited. At dusk, Sarah emerged,
Yoga mat strung over shoulder.
heading to her studio. Tommy followed an hour later, suit rumpled, bound for the firm. The lobby was unlocked, lazy doorman, and I slipped in, heart jackhammering, riding the elevator to their floor with a pizza delivery ruse clutched in my purse. Unit 12B, the door ajar, voices murmuring inside.
No, empty.
I pushed, and there was Tommy, on the phone, back to me, pacing the marble foyer. Yeah. The auditors cleared it last quarter. Mom's old school. Doesn't get the cloud thing. We'll digitize her stuff next visit. My blood froze. He knew. Not just the discrepancies, the whole damn charade. As he turned, I ducked into the coat closet, the scent of Sarah's Chanel choking me like regret. He passed without a glance, grabbing keys and vanishing. Minutes ticked. Then I emerged, gloves on from my purse, paranoid, but practical, and rifled the desk in the living room. Bingo, a laptop. Password protected, but Sarah's yoga journal lay open. A post-it with Trust Access 2011 scrawled on the cover. Child's play. Files upon files, spreadsheets titled Rebate Reconciliation, columns of my forged initials next to diversions. And buried in a subfolder. Contingencies, emails from 2011. Sarah to a lawyer in Cleveland. Confirm procedure covered under family policy. Signatory M. Hargrove. Trustee. Attached, a consent form. My name typed. Her IP address stamped. Tears stung. Hot and furious. She'd pinned the abortion on me. The meddlesome mother-in-law footing the bill for her indiscretion, maybe Tommy's. Maybe not. The dates blurred with his summer internship in D.C. And he'd let her. Or worse, helped bury it. All to protect their fairy tale. I copied what I could to a thumb drive, shaky hands fumbling ports, then fled, the door clicking shut like a guilty conscience. Back in Elmwood, I confronted the mirror, hollow cheeks, eyes like chipped flint. This wasn't just revenge, it was reclamation. I'd send the files to the Trust's oversight board anonymously. Let the chips fall. But as I drafted the email, a twist hit. One transfer, $50,000 in 2015, went not to Sarah's accounts, but to a charity for battered women in Atlanta.
Her hometown.
Her mother's address. Sarah's flip, victim or villain.
Idea sumat kuning gra.
But what if the money funded escape from what? Tommy's temper. The one he'd inherited from his dad. Flaring in law school stress? Whispers from their early days. A black eye she blamed on clumsy unpacking. I dismissed it, blind to the rot in my own line. Doubt crept, divisive as a jury poll. Was I the monster now? Unearthing graves for sport? No. Betrayal demanded balance. I hit send, the whoosh echoing like Judgment Day. The fallout brewed slow. Tommy called 2 days later, voice edged with panic.
Mom.
The board's auditing the trust. Some tipster sent docs, your signatures everywhere. What the hell? Innocence feigned easy. Me?
Son.
I haven't touched those books since you graduated. Sarah thinks it's identity theft. Hackers or something. We're hiring a PI. Lies layered thicker. I played dumb, the adorable math whiz, while inside, gears turned. Next move, confront Sarah alone. I texted her a peace offering, a coffee at the Elmwood Diner. She accepted, wary but vain enough to think she could charm me back. The booth smelled of grease and faded dreams, Formica scarred from decades of breakups. Sarah slid in, designer jeans hugging hips that bespoke no pregnancies, coffee black as her secrets. Melanie. About the audit, Tommy's a wreck. We need your help swearing to the board that you authorized everything. Her eyes, blue as Lake Erie in summer. Locked on mine, pleading? Calculating? Authorized what?
Exactly?
The rebates? Or the clinic visit you charged to my good name? Color drained from her face. Lipstick stark as blood on snow.
What?
What are you talking about? I slid the printed email across. The consent form glaring. 2011. Women's Choice. You forged me to cover your tracks. And the money, oh. The money trail leads straight to you?
Darlin'.
Offshore nests while I clip actual coupons to eat. She leaned in, voice a hiss. You think you're clever? That math of yours? It's why Tommy married me, to escape your penny-pinching world. I did what I had to.
He was
Intense back then. The baby? It wasn't viable. And the funds? Half went to my mom. After Dad's mess, debts, beatings. The rest? Our future. Flips again. Not greed, but survival. But the forgeries? The mockery? You laughed at me.
Sarah.
Made me the fool to hide your house of cards. Her laugh now.
Bitter.
Fool, you enabled him. Melanie. Turned a blind eye to his rages. Just like with his dad. I protected us. All of us. Expose this. And Tommy crumbles. The merger?
Gone.
Our life. Shattered. The diner hummed around us. Oblivious. Truckers nursing eggs. A waitress with tattoos flirting for tips. I waited, her truth slicing my certainty. Was revenge justice? Or just trading one grave for another? 1 week, I said finally. Get my name cleared. Return the money. Or the board gets the full picture. She nodded, eyes glassy, and left with a whispered, you win. But as she walked out, phone to ear, Tommy. No doubt, I felt the tension coil tighter. The high-wire act had just added a blindfold. The weeks stretched like taffy pulled to breaking. Each day a tightrope between vindication and vertigo. Sarah's compliance came in drips, a check for $20,000 overnight to my door. Notarized affidavits retracting the forgeries as clerical errors. Tommy stayed radio silent, his merger consuming him. But voicemails piled up. Mom. Sarah says you're stressed. Call me. Stressed? Try seething. Son. The kind of rage that simmers until it scalds. I spent hours on hold with the trust board, voice modulated to quavery concern, feeding them just enough to trigger a full probe without fingering Sarah outright. Irregularities, I said, in my name, but I swear, I never signed. The chairwoman, a crisp Bostonian named Elaine, promised discretion, but her tone dripped skepticism. Elderly trustees were easy marks. After all. Meanwhile, the coupons haunted me, yellow talismans of what-ifs. I sorted them anew, uncovering a 2013 bundle tied to a Florida address, not Sarah's mom's, but a trust for MJ. Hargrove, Tommy's middle initial. James, after his grandfather. A college fund? No. Deeper dig via public records revealed a lien on a condo in Key West. Purchased in 2014. Deeded to a shell company with Sarah as silent partner. Their investment property, Tommy had bragged once, for retirement, funded by my phantom rebates, while I deferred my own dreams, a cruise, maybe, or that quilting retreat in the Smokies. The moral quagmire deepened. Sarah's flips weren't just offensive, they were a mirror to my own buried sins. I'd covered for Tommy's dad. 2. Fudged mileage logs on his trucker routes to hide bar tabs. Bore the bruises he accidentally gave me during arguments. Taught my boy that love meant swallowing sharp edges. Was I avenging betrayal, or atoning for enabling it? Friday brought the storm, literal and figurative. Winds howled off Lake Erie, Power flickering as Sarah's text buzzed. Diner.
Now.
Bring the originals. I arrived soaked. The booth our familiar foxhole. She looked wrecked. Hair limp. Eyes ringed like a raccoon's after a bender. No coffee, just trembling hands around water. It's done, she whispered, sliding a folder. Affidavits. Transfers reversed. The board's got your accounts. But Melanie. Tommy knows. My gut plummeted. Knows what? Everything. The forgeries. The clinic. He found my burner phone old emails. He's furious.
At me?
At you for pushing. Says you're meddling like always, but deep down, he resents you for raising him in that house. With Dad's shadow. The money was his idea. Originally, to supplement law school without asking. Twist like a knife, my son. The architect. Not pawn, but player. The merger? Leverage to buy silence. Perhaps even for me. Sarah leaned closer, voice cracking.
He wants a divorce now.
Blames me for dragging you in. But it's you he hates for surviving, for seeing through us. The coupons? His code.
2.
He clipped them as a kid. Remember? You taught him thrift. Then he weaponized it. Flashes. Tommy at 10. Gleefully sorting my clip-outs. Calculating savings like a mini-me. I'd beamed then, blind to the seed of cunning. Now, it poisoned the well. Why tell me? I rasped. Because you're the only one who gets it, Betrayal's chain. Expose him fully, and he goes down disbarment.
Jail.
But save us. And maybe redemption. For all. The waitress refilled waters, oblivious to the chamber drama. Outside. Thunder cracked, illuminating Sarah's face, vulnerable, almost maternal. Sides blurred, her the victim of Tommy's ambition. Me the enabler turned avenger. Controversial calculus. Destroy the boy I'd birthed, or swallow the theft as maternal tax. I need time, I said, folder burning my lap. She nodded, fleeing into the gale. Alone, I drove home, wipers slashing rain like accusations. The power outage greeted me, candles my only light as I pored over the folder. Recants signed, but a post-it clung. He's coming for you. Protect yourself. Sarah's hand.
Shaky.
Midnight brought the knock, frantic. Fist like judgment.
Tommy?
Drenched. Eyes wild under the porch light.
Mom.
We need to talk. I let him in. The living room shadows dancing like jury members. He paced. Words tumbling. Sarah's lying, twisting it. The money was loans, not theft. You authorized half. Remember? Those signatures. Lies. I cut in. Voice steel. I saw the forgeries. The clinic. All of it. His face crumpled. Then hardened. The Hargrove mask. Passed down like heirloom china. You poked around our place?
Jesus. Mom.
This is invasion. I did it for us, for the family you couldn't provide. Dad's death left us broke. You clipped coupons while I dreamed bigger.
Bigger.
The word ignited. Bigger than honesty? You let her mock me, pin crimes on my back, while you played king. He stopped, inches away, breath ragged. She didn't mock you, she pitied you. Stuck in Elmwood, afraid of the world. I married her to escape.
Yeah.
But the trust? It was mine by right. You hoarded it. like everything else. The slap came unbidden, my palm cracking his cheek, the sound echoing like the gavel I'd feared. He reeled, hand to face, eyes wide with shock, then fury. "You hit me? After everything?" "Everything," I roared, years spilling. "I covered your dad's debts, your bar fights in college. That DUI you swore was one beer.
Bore it all so you could shine.
And this, forging me into a felon." He deflated, sinking to the couch, head in hands. "The clinic. I didn't know till now. Sarah said it was endometriosis, covered by insurance. If I'd known." Sobs hitched, boyish again.
Mom.
"Forgive me. We'll fix it. Together." The plea tugged,
Maternal wire pulled taut.
but the math cold. "Unieldin, whispered no."
He'd flip again.
Charm the board. Bury me deeper. Controversial call, mercy or massacre. As dawn crept, gray as guilt, I made my choice.
Go, I said.
Fix it yourself. Or I will. He left with a nod, but the door's click sealed the divide. Hours later, Elaine called, "Mrs. Hargrove. The probe's escalating. Your son's involved, transfers to his accounts. And a federal flag, possible tax evasion." The climax loomed, family fracturing like fault lines. No heroes here, just survivors clawing for air. The federal summons arrived via certified mail 3 days later. Crisp envelope like a guillotine blade. Addressed to all three of us: Melanie Hargrove, Thomas Hargrove, Sarah Hargrove. Material witness: embezzlement and fraudulent misrepresentation. Elmwood's postman, old Mr. Wilkins, averted his eyes as he handed it over. The town grapevine already buzzing with whispers of the Hargrove mess. Small-town America, where secrets travel faster than broadband. Tommy called first. Voice a wire. "Mom, this is insane. Meet at the condo." "We end this now." Sarah echoed via text. "Come alone." Truth time. I chose neither. Driving instead to the Columbus field office, the one with the eagle emblem glaring from marble walls. Agent Ruiz, a no-nonsense Latina with a stare like a polygraph, met me in a sterile conference room smelling of stale coffee and regret. "Mrs. Hargrove," she said, folder thick as a Bible. "Your tips checked out. Forgeries, diversions, textbook white collar. But the clinic angle? That's personal. Why flag it?" I leaned forward. Coupons spread like a bad hand in poker. "Because it's the root." She, Sarah, didn't just steal money. She stole trust. Forged me to cover a termination. Then built an empire on the guilt. Ruiz's pen tapped, rhythmic as a heartbeat. "And your son? He claims ignorance, but the trails lead to him. Joint accounts, approvals, family affair, ignorance." The word mocked. He knew enough to benefit. But agent, it's tangled, abuse in my line. Her past. "No one's clean." She nodded, eyes softening a fraction. "That's why we offer deals. Cooperation gets leniency. Full story. And maybe no charges for you." The offer hung, seductive as absolution. Spill on Tommy, and walk free, shield him, and sync with Sarah. Divisive as a ballot box. No right answer, just consequences. I took the deal. Words pouring like confession. The mocks, the forgeries, The flips from victim to villain. Ruiz recorded it all. Her face impassive. But as I detailed the Key West condo, bought with my phantom rebates, her brow arched. One more thing, I added, voice cracking. The charity transfers? To her mom's shelter. That was real, escape money. Don't paint her black and white. Back home. The house felt hollow. Echoes of lasagna dinners and coupon sorts. Tommy arrived at dusk. Sarah in tow. Their faces a matched set of pallor. The living room showdown. No raised voices at first. Just the rustle of papers as I laid it out. The feds. The deal. The impending raid. You ratted? Tommy exploded. Face crimson. After I begged, Mom, you're destroying us. Sarah, quieter, sank into a chair.
No.
Tommy, she's saving herself. Like we never did for her. He whirled on her. You started this. The lies. The clinic, God. Sarah, was it even mine? The room imploded. She rose, eyes blazing. Yours? Conceived in that rat trap apartment while you studied, ignoring me for grades. I ended it because you chose ambition over us. And the money? To build something real. Away from your family cycle, booze, bruises, buried sins. Tommy staggered, hand to wall. Cycle? Dad was sick. Sick, I interjected, voice whip-sharp. He beat me black for less than your bar tabs.
And you?
Slapped that intern last year, Sarah told me, in confidence. I covered, like always. But no more. Flips cascaded. Tommy the golden boy. Tarnished, Sarah the gold digger.
Guardian. Me?
The enabler turned executioner. He lunged at the table, sweeping coupons skyward like confetti at a funeral. You mocked her math. Sarah called her obsolete. Now look, she's the one who tallied our graves. She didn't flinch. Obsolete? You're the relic. Tommy, clinging to privilege I bought with scraps. Melanie saw through it because she had to. You never did. The agents knocked then, polite raps escalating to bangs, as sirens wailed distant. Ruiz entered, cuffs glinting. Thomas Hargrove. Sarah Hargrove, you're under arrest. Tommy went quiet, compliant. Sarah met my eyes. A ghost of a gnawed gratitude? Defiance? They led them out. Rain sheeting the windows like tears unshed. Tommy's last words, I hate you.
Mom.
For this. For everything.
Hate.
The final betrayal. Or perhaps the truth we'd all dodged. Months blurred. Trials in federal court. Cincinnati's granite halls echoing pleas. Tommy flipped first. Testifying against Sarah for reduced time, 5 years probation.
Disbarment.
She countered, painting him the puppet master. Her the coerced wife. Got 3 years. House arrest. Restitution.
Me?
Immunity. But the cost. Family eviscerated. Elmwood stairs like spotlights. The twist landed in a letter from Sarah. Postmarked from her Atlanta halfway house. Melanie, the coupons? One more. Tucked in your purse. 2005. Check the code. It wasn't all theft. I dug. Found it. A faded Kroger chit. Numbers decoding to coordinates ST. Mary's cemetery. My husband's plot. Beneath. A deposit slip. $10,000 anonymous. Dated after his death. From Sarah's trust. Pre-Tommy. For the widow who clipped to survive, her note read. I saw you then. At the funeral. Admired. not mocked. The math, always yours. I learned from the best. Debate fodder. Was her revenge on Tommy's legacy? Using me as unwitting ally? Or mine on the cycle? Breaking it at pure cost? No happy ending, just a quiet house. Coupons in a box for the fire. I walk now, hip fixed on restitution checks. But the math tallies loss. A son estranged. A daughter-in-law redeemed in shadows.
Redemption?
Or just another flip. You decide. In America, justice is as gray as a rainy Midwest sky. Tense, twisted, and forever up for argument.